On July 21st, 2024, we've got quite an unusual full moon in Capricorn. This happens at 6:16 a.m. Eastern US time, so calculate that for your own time zone. But it's unusual for several reasons. First of all, it's the second full moon in Capricorn in a row. That doesn't normally happen. It can only happen when the first one is in the very early degrees of Capricorn and the last one is in the very late degrees of Capricorn. In this case, the July 21st full moon in Capricorn is in the very final degree of Capricorn. That's called the anaretic degree. And that basically makes it kind of like Capricorn on steroids. And so we always think of Capricorn as kind of top-down authority, kind of the corporations, the leaders of the world in religion, in business, in government. So all of that is very up. The spotlight is on it at the time of the full moon. Like the structures, the standards, the old things, the traditions are up for review, and some of them probably aren't going to carry over once we really get into the Aquarian energy. So it's kind of like last call. Timothy, Glenn, and I went into a lot more detail about July and August energies. I'll link that video below if you haven't seen it. It's just under an hour, but it really kind of puts all of these things into perspective, including what happened on July 13th. We kind of called that not exactly how it played out, but the flavor of the energies. So none of this is surprising if you're tracking the astrology, and that's why I make these videos, is just to kind of give people a little more insight so that you're not blindsided by the energies, and also so that you can choose to experience them on higher level. So getting into the Sabian symbol, for this one, it is Capricorn 30. Again, we always round up for Sabian symbols. A secret meeting of men responsible for executive decisions in world affairs. And then Dane Rudyard goes on with a keynote: the power to assume responsibility for crucial choices arrived at after mature discussions with those who share this power. And then he continues, this is the last symbol related to the zodiacal sign of Capricorn. We see in it the culmination of social responsibility and a reference to executive power. And so unpacking that, there's that emphasis on the executive power. The Sabian symbol itself might sound a bit conspiratorial in the sense of like this group of, men that control the world making all these decisions. Keep in mind that that can be for good or ill, right? We can experience these energies in different ways. And so the negative sign of Capricorn would be kind of that top-down authority that is like the tyrant, that doesn't allow for any progress to be made. It's sort of the my way or the highway. I am going to censor everything. I am going to reject anything that is at all new. That's the negative. But the positive side of Capricorn is kind of like the good father energy, or like the positive energy of the patriarchy, kind of the father that wants you to have a successful career, that wants you to have the best in life, that wants you to have a good reputation. All of that energy is also in the mix. And so we, to some extent, get to choose how we play with these energies. We can't avoid them, but we can make the best of them. So this is a time that could seem extra weird because all of the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are all involved with this full moon and with each other. So they're harmonious, which is nice. They're not always that way, so we'll take the harmony when we can get it. But we've got Neptune also in the 29th degree of Pisces. And I've been mentioning this because it adds this kind of surreal nature to everything that's occurring, this kind of unreality, this kind of on the negative side, potential for extreme illusion, delusion, fanaticism, like martyrdom, where your self-sacrifice is like annihilation because you're just so deluded. That's one play of Neptune in 29 Pisces. But another way that that can play out is like the highest version of love, the highest level of compassion, and almost like 5D Earth, fairy realm kind of alternate reality. So that's in the mix, sextiling this full moon. And then Uranus is still between 26 and 27 degrees of Taurus, which is, of course, where the Mars-Uranus conjunction occurred on July 15th. On July 13th, Mars acts early. So yes, we saw some interesting events that day. Just to kind of tell you how spooky that is. So there's an asteroid called Requiem. And on July 13th, Requiem was at 24 degrees of Taurus, which is Donald Trump's midheaven. So crossing over it was, the mass, the funeral mass for the dead is what Requiem stands for. It's an ominous energy. It was at 24 Taurus, right on his midheaven on that date. And Mars was at 25 of Taurus, Uranus at 26 Taurus. So Mars acting early for that kind of potential chaos. The Requiem energy did show up. But again, as an example, that just because these energies show up, it doesn't necessarily dictate how the events will go, right? There's a flavor involved, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen in the most literal way. So at the time of the full moon in Capricorn, Requiem is still in the mix. Mars will have moved into Gemini the day prior, but Requiem will still be at 27 degrees of Taurus. So still a tight conjunction with Uranus and the fixed star Algol, which is often considered extremely malefic. So we still have this intense energy, but again, it's this harmony that's happening with the outer planets. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that we have an exact conjunction from another asteroid called Cassandra. Now, this asteroid is spelled with a K, but it actually refers to Cassandra with a C in Greek mythology. And Cassandra in Greek mythology was given special powers of prophecy by Apollo, who's the god of prophecy, among other things. But it seems like that gift was kind of given with some strings attached. Apollo wanted to get some, right? Like he wanted her to be his consort. And Cassandra said, no thanks. No, thanks for the prophecy, but no thanks. I'm not going to be with you. And that didn't really go down real well with Apollo. So he cursed her so that no one would believe her prophecies. And so when we say, it's a Cassandra situation, that refers to when someone is giving an accurate prophecy, but for whatever reason, nobody believes them. And so this energy is very strongly up at the time of this full moon because Cassandra, like the full moon, is also at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And so those energies of, true prophecies that are not believed, they're in here, they're in the mix with this full moon. It's too soon to tell whether that will play out as a whole bunch of people that have been, predicting things are going to have lots of I told you so moments. That's one way it could play out. Or it could also play out that like a lot of people are spewing things at the time of the full moon and nobody believes them then. So it could be a mixture of that, but with that 29 degree Pisces, Neptune energy in the mix, you can kind of see why even if Cassandra is giving lots of accurate prophecies and predictions, that maybe the masses are unable to receive that because it's like, fog of war, cotton candy over the eyes. It's like you just can't see what's going on. So if you're one of the people who has been seeing a little more clearly, like you're less surprised by some of these events that are happening in your personal life or in the collective, try to tune into that higher level of compassion energy with the Neptune at 29 Pisces. Try to recognize that waking up is difficult for people. It's often not just about whatever one event you're talking about or whatever one dynamic you're trying to show. A lot of times when people have to wake up, it's going to, derail and unravel their entire reality. And so, of course, people are going to be resistant to that. And that's another part of the Capricorn energy that, again, we can choose, right? We're going to dig our heels in and be like, no, we're not having change. Or are we going to step into that and be more of the positive leader, right? The leader that rises to the occasion. So we've got a lot of energies in the mix here. There's a lot more that I could say, but I'm trying to keep this short because, again, I wasn't even actually going to make this video because we discussed some of this in the longer video about Mars-Uranus conjunction and the energies in July and August. But I know not everybody wants to look at a video that lasts an hour, and so wanted to get something out because there is a lot of chaos and confusion and grief and despair and worry. But another potential of this full moon is that we just lift out of that vibration. And, since reality is so weird right now, since the veils are so thin, and since the old guard is falling away, this is also an opportunity to say, oh, okay, I'm going to step up. I'm going to do something different with this energy. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to create something beautiful. And with that Capricorn energy being in an earth sign, it's like, okay, I have the authority to bring forth something more beautiful. So keep that in mind when you're seeing all the crazy fireworks going off, which we probably will continue to see. But when you see all that going off, remember it's a spectacle, right? Like spectacles, you put on your glasses, you have a different perspective. And that's always available. But again, the energies are here. It's like the energies, the flavors are there with each of these transits. And what I like to do is just kind of help people to recognize opportunities to upgrade, recognize opportunities where, yeah, this is what's being presented, but here's a different way that could be utilized. Here's a different way so that if you've been wanting to have change, if you've been wanting to kind of step up, you're able to do it by knowing when to take the right action. So I hope this helps, and just try to tap into inner peace and your own inner authority. That's really going to help at this time. All right, you guys take care. Peace is possible. All right, bye.